Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And I want to make a video and talk about this whole Robert Pattinson as Batman thing that has certain corners of the internet rather up in arms. And I apologize for my voice, allergies, something's going on, my throat, my voice, my sinuses are all kinds of crazy right now, so bear with me as I sound not quite myself for a video. I guess on the outset, I know some people feel very strongly about this and they feel that that this is horrible and that they'll never touch this movie now that he's attached, and other people think it's great or whatever. I really can't really say too much about Pattinson as Batman. The only acting I've seen Pattinson do is as Cedric in Goblet of Fire. I've never seen the Twilight movies, or why would I, but so I've never seen, and I know he's done other things too, so I've never seen any of that. So I really can't, speak one way or the other. All I can say is that I really like what Matt Reeves has said about the approach that he wants to take to this Batman movie. In fact, I love what he said about it. And since he's been so consistent in saying the right things, thus far, I'm inclined to trust him on something like casting. And again, if you've seen a lot of Pattinson's movies and you know something I don't, that's fine. But, seeing that one Harry Potter film isn't enough to really judge his acting. And of course, pictures of him abound out there, and Twilight was very much sort of the pretty boy look and everything. Obviously, they shouldn't go that route. But I've seen other pictures of him from other roles, I guess, or at different times when he's not so pretty boyed up or whatever. And yeah, I think he could work, just from that much. Now, he's not huge, bulky physical, but I do honestly hope we get away from this nonsense idea that Zack Snyder had where, superheroes needed to be freaking bodybuilders, physically. Yes, Batman, it's a different thing from comics to live screen, to live, action. But I've never thought, even a Superman character, Superman in particular, I never thought should be looking like a bodybuilder. His power comes from the solar powered muscles, not necessarily because they're so freaking big or something like that. Fit, of course. And, I'd say Pattinson needs to bulk up a little. But I'm certainly not going to be upset if he doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that by the time, the role comes about. So, I'll wait and see. I don't really have a horribly visceral reaction one way or the other to him cast as Batman. When I said I'm inclined to trust Matt Reeves, I'll tell you why so far. For one thing, I think it's pretty clear now that the film is not going to be a part of the shared cinematic universe of DC. It's not going to be set in the same continuity necessarily as the Batman v Superman or Man of Steel or any of that nonsense, because all of that, Zack Snyder just got everything wrong about the DC universe. He just envisioned everything that it shouldn't be, and it was horrible. And I think DC knows that, even kind of trying to distance their Aquaman movie from it, sort of. They still put connectors in there. That's been my message to DC all along, that this is your problem. Stop trying to just kind of quietly, slowly break away. Just make a clean break. Stop it with the Easter eggs. And Aquaman, Shazam had a bunch of Easter eggs in there connecting it to Man of Steel and whatnot. Stop it with that. You don't have to come out and say we're rebooting, but at least stop with the Easter eggs and stop with the actual connections that can't be denied anymore, because people rejected that. It was awful. So, they're having success with their movies now, which are obviously a completely different take on it. I do have even a little bit of hope for the new Wonder Woman film, which is because they've said that this is not going to be a sequel. Most people will probably watch it as a sequel, and they're surely not going to do anything to stop them from that. But they've said that this is not going to be, set up as though it's part of the continuity of the first movie. And I'm happy about that. We'll see how much that actually plays out, because even though I don't like Gal Gadot's casting, just physical type is the role, I'll certainly be happy with her. Otherwise, she seems to respect the role, so she's in a story that actually respects the real iconic Diana, and is not somebody that has to kind of do this sort of playing nice with Zack Snyder's continuity, but trying to move it away, sort of whatnot. I've said before, Wonder Woman does not run away from her mother on the island with a boy. That's not how that works. She's sent. She has to be sent as an ambassador, and she has to be able to come back. That's nonsense that she's, banished forever or whatever. So, there are a lot of differences to that, but this is a Batman video, so let's get back to that. The point is, because of these treatments, because of what they said about the Wonder Woman, because of how they're treating these films now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the Batman movie's not going to be set in that continuity. They're not going to come out and say it isn't, or it's not going to be blatantly obvious, but they're not going to make any actual connections to it. One of the rumors is it might be set in the 90s, with the Batman about 30-ish or whatever. I don't know. I don't really care one way or the other on that. I don't think that's necessary. I'd probably rather it be set in modern times, but whatever. That doesn't really kill it for me one way or the other. I do like the idea that Matt Reeves wants to make a trilogy, because I think he's going to approach this character not as an origin story and not as a retiree, dumbass, Zack Snyder kind of take on it, but probably as a character, more so maybe like a year 2 style Batman. I think that's kind of what they're going on. Still trying to find his footing, as the Caped Crusader in Gotham City, as the Dark Knight, but not as an origin story per se. And I think that's a good approach with all the stories we've had now. And now, really, why I come to respect Matt Reeves' take on this is that he wants to approach this movie as a film noir film. Not strictly, but in that setting, a PI, a private eye, a detective movie, sort of a film noir. He's used the word Hitchcockian, to describe his approach to Batman. Yes, 1,000 times yes. That is how a Batman story should go. He really wants to dwell and draw out the idea that Batman is the world's greatest detective. Wonderful. That's what we need. That should be a part of every Batman film. A lot of people naively and ignorantly say they've never had that. Yes, we did. We had that in Batman, Tim Burton's Batman. He was very much a detective, but we haven't had that since then. And I'm very excited to see what Matt Reeves can do with that. And yes, so that I'm 100% on board with that. The world's greatest detective. Let's focus on him as the Dark Knight detective. He's not just a brooding ninja. He's actually a detective. I like that. The noir angle's great. I think I've heard rumors, I don't know if it's confirmed, that Catwoman and Penguin are going to be involved, but he is really going to branch out and acknowledge, the wide rogues gallery that Batman has at different times. Of course, that can go poorly as well if you try and introduce too many characters or whatever. But I like the little throwback to Batman Returns, the second Tim Burton film. That wasn't a perfect movie by any means, and I prefer the first Batman Tim Burton Batman film, but it still harkens back to happier times when it comes to Batman movies for me, so I like that. I don't know if they'll be in the same movie or whatever, but I like the fact that he's not shying away from characters just because they've been on screen before. Yes, it'd be really bad decision to have yet another Joker right now, obviously, but, sometimes people think, oh, we gotta have somebody that he's never been seen before, and if you keep doing that, pretty soon you got him fighting the Clock King or something like that, which not a bad character, but certainly not a villain you want to hold to hold down the film, your first iteration of a Batman film. So I like that he's bringing in other villains like that. That's great. And there's one more thing that he said about his approach to Batman that has me pretty interested. I was curious about how he would approach the Batman Bruce Wayne dichotomy. That is something that some filmmakers or some storytellers and writers in comics have gotten very wrong sometimes. Sometimes they try to pretend that there's really no difference. Depending on your take, like Adam West Batman, there was no difference between Adam West without the cowl or Adam West with the cowl, as Bruce Wayne or whatever. It didn't, but that kind of Batman, that kind of theater of the absurd story wasn't really such that needed a difference. So that was fine. But in a real serious live action film, there needs to be a difference between Batman as Batman and him as Bruce Wayne. And a lot of people have mistaken where the true identity lies. They either write him as Batman is his real identity and Bruce Wayne is the mask, or Chris Nolan, for example, made a real Bruce Wayne, a real sort of insecure child who had just watched his parents die. That at its core was still the real character, and you saw that come through in his insecure moments with Alfred and such, but then he put on all these different masks. He put on the mask of Bruce Wayne out in the public. He put on the beastly mask of Batman and such, and that worked for a Chris Nolan film because that's the kind of approach that he likes to take, that character riddled with identity issues and whatnot. Well, that's not really Batman. Again, going back to Tim Burton's Batman, I love that Michael Keaton played him not as a divided personality, but as a character, an individual he was both fully Batman and fully Bruce Wayne at any given time. And at any moment, you could see some of Batman shine through or some of Bruce Wayne. That's what I liked. And I'll show students the scene when he goes to talk to Vicky Vale, when he's thinking that he's going to tell her he's Batman at that moment. And, he goes through the gamut of emotions. You see him as a little bit, a little bit insecure, you'd say, talking to her, trying to, wondering if it's the right thing to tell her or not. Next thing you know, he's shoving her down in the chair and saying, "Shut up, I have something to tell you," and so I like that. I like Batman as an integrated personality. And yes, he does have certain parts that he draws forth. At times, he's going to draw more heavily on the Batman when he's in the suit and more heavily on the Bruce Wayne when he's in public and such. But I like him as an integrated character. I think that's more realistic and more interesting and more mythologically resonant. So what I heard Matt Reeves say is that he wanted to approach the character as a Jekyll and Hyde-like character. And that scared me at first because I thought, nope. That's not the way to do it. He's not a werewolf. He's not Bruce Wayne and he morphs into Batman at night. That's nonsense. But then I heard some of the things that he was actually saying about it is Jekyll and Hyde. And he was actually talking about more of a Jungian idea of the shadow. So I like that. I like what he said. Now I'll read the quote that he said. Looking back at Jekyll and Hyde and the idea of your shadow self and the idea of we are multiple things. It's different aspects of who we are, and I think there are times when maybe the surface of Bruce is not really who he is, but that's his disguise. Then there are times when Batman's the disguise, but there are times when his true essence comes out, because by being veiled, a kind of instinctual side comes out that's very pure. And I think that's closer to what I was saying about Keaton's portrayal in that first film. So I like that. I think Jekyll and Hyde's probably a poor way to describe that, but I like that he went ahead and moved on to describe it and explain what he was saying, because I like that. So I think that he's got a good handle on the story. He's saying all the right things. He's making me terribly interested in his take. Maybe there's hope. There's hope for a real, true, iconic version of a DC hero to make it to the on-screen. We haven't had that in ages, so I'm excited about that, and we'll see what happens with it. Pattinson really doesn't do anything to excite me or discourage me, so we'll just see how he goes with that. If you know something about Pattinson I don't, feel free to let me know in the comments. Again, I've only seen that one film. And yeah, other than that, we'll be back with more live streams, more reviews, more cultural analyses, and so forth. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching. Do you like comics that are unafraid to portray women as feminine and men as masculine? Do you enjoy being entertained rather than preached to? If so, then you'll love my own graphic novel currently on Indiegogo. Tales from the Stacks is an anthology series in the vein of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. It contains 3 uncanny tales to thrill and haunt you long after reading. With interior art by Dave T. and variant covers by John Malin, Kyle Ritter, and Kyung Lee, you have lots of options to choose from. You can find the link in the description below or search Indiegogo for Tales from the Stacks, and tell the comic industry you don't have to settle for their social agenda platforming. Thanks. And last but not least, don't forget that your Professor Geek now has a merch store. Check out the current options from t-shirts to magnets to the iconic Professor Geek coffee mug, and let me know if you'd like to see something else. The link is in the description, or you can go to cafepress.com/ProfessorGeek.